Hello and thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of the program. It's Lens on Maritime, where we give you absolute best of the happening in the maritime sector. My name is BROWNSON, uNWANA, your host, and lots of things happening. Now, the big story happening has to be the CRFFN election to bring people into the board, and of course, that will be bringing you much more later in the show. And also, sometime last week, Nigerian Customs Service suspended the vehicle identification number as, of course, the criteria for clearing up vehicle in the port, and that have also brought in some other aspects of demurrages. Who's going to be at the brunt? The program today will be looking at that. But first, let's take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll be discussing that and much more. Don't go away. Hello and welcome to your one-stop shop for all the happenings in the maritime sector.
For the enactment of the Council Act, it is because we couldn't talk to ourselves, because we are disagreeing.
There will be more marine equipment that will be able to bring in vessels from Fairway Boy into the port.
Let us have what is called port development plan. Anybody who has container of contraband, don't think you will take it to, I will not listen to you.
Catch Lens on Maritime every Saturday, 10 to 10:30 a.m. on LTV.
Welcome back. Now let's discuss the CRFFN election. Now, before the CRFFN election, there were lots of things. First of all, the 5 accredited association came to a consensus to have a sharing formula of 66111. Now, the idea of that was to accommodate all the accredited associations. Now, in the freight forwarders forum, there were different arguments from some freight forwarders that independent candidacy should be allowed. Of course, the Ministry of Transportation looked at it and decided that it should be thrown open. Now, discussing this with me is the founder of Nagaf, Dr. Boniface Anebonam. He'll be throwing more light to this discussion. Doctor, good to have you on the program today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good to be here.
Yes. Now, we're not going to talk about the election because it has its own intricacies, but let's look at the build-up to the election. There were agreements by the 5 accredited. Now, the emphasis on accredited association came together to agree that, look, this is what we want in the council. But some other people in the Freight Forwarders Forum that happened somewhere in Victoria Island last year, of course you were there, stood up and kicked against the consensus decision, and the Ministry of Transportation looked at it and said, okay, maybe they should carry these people along. Do you think this decision contravened the act of the CRFFN?
Well, it's most unfortunate. We started to fail. That's just the issue. We started to fail, and it's saddening. My heart is actually bleeding. The issue of CRFFN came to being when I was the president of Nagaf. That has to do with my meeting, the meeting I had with Issa Baluchi, this president of FIATA. Indeed, that has to do with Ojo Madekwe being the Minister of Transportation. We thought of joining the global body of freight forwarders. We wrote to FIATA headquarters in Zurich. We were invited to Zurich. Surprisingly, when we got to Zurich Embassy in Nigeria, we discovered that the petition was written in that regard. Who wrote the petition? Our sister association, ANALCA. They claim to have been in existence since 1954. They never realized that Nigeria is losing 4 seats at the global body. FIATA is as big as FIFA, and Nigeria is not there. Anyway, FIATA discovered that there were issues arising from multiple number of freight associations in Nigeria. Alisa Baluchi accepted to visit us in Nigeria as citizens himself. He came in and called me, and we met at the Comedian. Had an hour meeting. He flew down to Abuja to meet with late Ojo Madebo. On his way back to Zurich, he told me he had had a very useful meeting with Ojo Madebo. That what we need to do now is to approach the National Assembly with a view to having an act of the National Assembly that will bring everybody together.
Okay, under one umbrella.
Under one umbrella. For the purpose of regulation and control.
Okay.
That was how I assembled Nagaf lawyers, and a draft was made. And we approached National Assembly. Now, when we approach National Assembly, first reading, again, petition here and there. What is petition all about? We don't really know. Only that somebody who claimed, or anybody who claimed to have been in existence in 1954, want to remain where they are, continue to set us back. Shippers Council came into the arena under Chief Sarumi, who now saw reasons to intervene. The National Assembly consultants, Professor Bello Seke, Gatima Bobo Iliman, Chris Soloka, and who again? Gatima Bobo, or something like that. They were consulting for the National Assembly, and the first meeting came to be at the Nigerian Shippers Council, and all the associations were invited, including customs and all that. Now we migrated from there. Shippers Council took responsibility, fast forwarded the enactment of CRFFN. The first council members began to run the council as if it is licensed custom agent association. Not only that, they began to rub shoulder with the ministry workers. They began to have their ID cards, complimentary cards with coat of arm. Our council is not an agency of the government. The second election, after that first one, the whole effort Nagaf made yielded a positive result because the council has a mandate to control and regulate. Control and regulate freight forwarding practice in Nigeria. Now let's go to your election. The 6611 formula. It's a consensus idea of the critical stakeholders under Freight Forwarders Consultative Forum. This forum is an act of the CRFFN. It's a portion of the CRFFN Act. It's a regulation where all the associations duly registered and individuals who are present come together and agree on an issue on how best CRFFN can be managed and administered, and push it to the Honorable Minister. That will take you to Section 5 of the Council Act. The power of the Minister to give direction and character. Now we have agreed 6611 formula. The last council, we came that way, very peaceful. Everybody, no single issue. And then we got there again. I still don't know what Transport Ministry really wants from us.
I was going to ask you that because you know, most people want to say that. Why? What would you say is the reason why?
I don't
now let's not even say Transport Ministry. Let's not even say Transport Ministry. Why the government?
And that's why with some of us we are only that some of this problem we're still looking at it. We need to approach the National Assembly. They should take us out of Transport Ministry. Yes, and that's required because The truth is that where we should belong is trade and investment, because our business has to do with trade, not
transport ministry.
Not transport ministry that talks about more of land and sea and air transportation.
So do you also think that POF collection, which most likely after this election, we might see the collection of that, might be some of the reasons why we are seeing government interest in this?
You're asking me. Definitely. Government needs money. Yeah, government needs money. But government wants the best for the citizens. Every government, responsible government, wants the best for the citizens. You see, what government might be losing for CRFFN not being functional or effective is more than the money they are getting. You know why? The port has been shut down now for 2 months, almost 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Do you know why? Do you know more? Do you know why?
Of course.
Because CRFFN is not working. That's the truth. Because under CRFFN, whatever might be the issue at the port to be discussed there.
Would have been discussed and settled there.
Yes.
At that level. So, sir, I mean, with all of this, do you think CRFFN can regain back its mantle? I mean, is there a way out of it? Because if you look at the background you've given.
It's very, very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult. Because you said it now, POF. The operators of the government will always want to go and take government. Come, there's so much money here. And you know government, they need money to meet up with their mandates. You understand? But like I said, there is hope. If you like to know, some of us are so worried. Because it's not about us now, it's about the young freight forwarders. And that is part of the effort we are making now. It's most unfortunate. The election as it were now, I'm sure you must have covered some aspects. You can see the rowdiness.
But are you confident on the outcome? Because I mean, there are lots of, we have seen clips from the eastern zone, western zone, and all parts. Are you confident about the outcome?
No, the election is not organized. It's not properly organized. You know why? One, you are doing an election. There is no electoral guideline. 48 hours before there's no guideline. There is no verification or register of eligible voters. Now, fake receipts, I'm told, and I didn't go to the scene because it doesn't make sense to me. Because I'm not interested. If it is within my purview, I would have called off Nagaf from that election. You know, there's no need. But then, that's not the right thing to do. Because as far as I'm concerned now, if we pull out Nagaf, others may go, so it's not going to be the best. It's unfortunate. What we're lacking actually in our own sector is leadership. The 5 registered associations, leadership is lacking, as far as I'm concerned. But there is hope.
Yeah, there is, sure. Wow, I mean, when we speak with Dr. Boniface Anebonam, one episode is not always enough, you know, to digest some of these issues and the ports. And when he speaks, you could feel the wisdom in his speech. Doctor, thank you very much for coming. I mean, what we just did halfway. We did the program, the communication halfway, because we have just 30 minutes to fill on TV.
I just had to say that our big brother Rotimi Amechi should know that he has earned honor and respect. We expect a lot from him to give direction in the proper administration and management of CRFFN, because the inherent value is big, yeah, for the nation.
That's what it is.
I hope he will try and know what's happening in the council, because it seems to me that he doesn't know much. I don't think so. Because if he knows much, most of the memos, either through platforms and other, you look at it and know that something's wrong.
Something's wrong, definitely.
Definitely.
Of course, we'll look at it some other time in our next episode. Thank you very much, Dr. Boniface Hanebunam, for coming on the program today. So at this point, let's go to the election venue, where we'll be, of course, giving you the results of the outcome of the election. And as well, we'll be speaking with Maritime journalist Shulamite. Stay with us, don't go away. All right, welcome back. Now, we are still at Command Guest House at Papa, where the election for the CRFFN is still currently ongoing. But while we are still waiting for the elections, let's move on the show and also tell you that sometime last week, Nigerian Customs Service suspended the VIN valuation, or the vehicle identification number process for clearing of vehicle for 30 days. And joining me to discuss this is Maritime journalist Shulamite Olowofoyekun. Good to have you on the program.
It's my pleasure.
Now let's look at the fact that this strike went on for a little over 2 weeks, and do you think this resolution or this suspension by Nigerian Customs Service should have come a little earlier?
Yes, I think so. I agree with you, Brownson, because I don't really know the reason why customs will have to delay, the suspension of the VIN policy after several days of denial and going to like 3 weeks with about 12,000 vehicles trapped at the seaport. The customs just came up to say that they've suspended the policy. Now, what we're hearing as maritime journalists is that it is not as if the agents are actually against the VIN policy, but the outrageous value that customs is imposing on it. You don't just wake up and impose a policy on clearing agents. These are your immediate constituents, and I think what customs ought to have done at the initial stage is to have carried the agents along. They did say they organized a stakeholders meeting, but I don't think majority of the stakeholders, that is the clearing agent, the freight forwarders, the major associations in the clearing business, are carried along. So for them to have, call off the strike, eventually bowing to pressure, I think it's something they should have done before now. All right.
Now, there's something in the press release I read, released by Bomuni, that's the PRO of Customs. Now, there's an aspect of that press release that was not, of the whole situation that was not mentioned. Now, don't forget that cargo has been trapped for 3 weeks, storage charges is there, and all of that. But what we don't know is if these freight forwarders or the shippers are going to pay for demurrages. Do you think, do you still smell problems when these guys go to clear their vehicle and they are being asked to pay for the 3-week strike period?
Yes, all of this will boil down on, will affect the final consumer at the end of the day. That is me and you, the Nigerians outside there will purchase vehicles, because we have, if you go to the Tinkan Island port, we have the major railroad terminals, the PTML and the 5-star logistics terminal, which most of these vehicles are trapped. And what we are hearing is that some of the terminals and shipping companies, they've agreed to waive off some, storage charges and demurrages for them. But of course, you agree with me that they can't do all totally. So the agents will still have to bear some of these costs by their own, which eventually will be translated to the final consumers. And so you won't be surprised to see that, prices of vehicles in no distance time will start, skyrocketing.
But do you see more problems in the port? Because freight forwarders, for some quarters that we've spoken with, are saying that aspect should be totally wiped off. That is, from the time of the strike or when the policy was introduced till now, there should be no storage charges, no demurrage. Do you think the shipping companies will be able to bear all of this?
Well, for me, that is not visible, because you also agree with me that the shipping companies, the terminal operators, they are in for business, and they are not, the cause of the strike. It is the agents who decide to go on strike because of this policy they said they can't work with. So, the terminal operators, the freight forwarders, looking at it, they might want to waive off some days, some period for them, but I don't think they will give up totally. What's the cost of what has accrued over the period the agents have described.
All right, Shulamite, thank you very much for coming on our program today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, of course, that's Shulamite, maritime journalist, bearing our thoughts in the VIN valuation that has been currently suspended by Nigerian Customs Service. Let's take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll be returning back to the election venue of the CRFFN. Stay with us, don't go away.
You're welcome. I'm here to announce the results of the election conducted today's 9th March 2022 with respect to the representative of freight forwarders in the council, in CRFF council. The election was conducted in 3 centers simultaneously: Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Abuja. And I, in my position as the chairman, overall chairman, I oversee the election here conducted in Lagos Center for both the Western ports and for airports and sea borders. I hereby announce the results as cast. For Western ports, total number of 9 people contested. There are 10 initially, but 1 has withdrawn from before the election. And the result is as follows. Number of votes of voters, 756. Number of invalid votes, 25. Number of ballot cast, 731. And total number of vote cast, 756. The 5 that were able to scale through and were elected are hereby returned of the representative of the Western ports. Number 1, Ibrahim Tanko, who scored 179 votes. Number 2, Ndubusi Ezogbo, 147. Number 3, Tochuku Ezizi, 110. Number 4, Farrington C. Kayode, 72 votes. And number 5, Ekemezi A. Joseph, also 72 votes. These are the people that were elected to represent the council from the Western ports. For the Western ports and land borders, for the Western airports and land borders, a number of 275 votes were casted at the Lagos Center. The number of invalid votes nil. Number of valid vote cast 275, and total number of vote cast 275. Let me announce the total number, the candidates that emerged nationwide for airports and land borders. Because we calculated those in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, and in Abuja, and come back with the following winners. Number 4, 5 of them. Number 1, Princess Chi Eze, 224 votes. Number 2, Awebemi Timothy, 147 votes. Number 3, Timothy, 145. Number 3, Increase Uche, 122 votes to be the 3rd. And number 4, 121 votes to be the 3rd. Number 4, Engineer Chukwononsu, 120 votes. And number 5, Mukhtar Yau, with 91 votes to be the 5th. So these are the people that represent airports and land borders nationwide. And they are hereby elected and returned as the council representative in the Council for the Regulation of Freight Forwarders.
Welcome back. Now, after an eventful day in the elections of the Council for the Regulation of Freight Forwarders, Western Zone has been completed. Nagaf dominating the Western Zone election. So far, 6 people from the zone have made it to the house. Now, with that, it's a wrap on the program today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Now, don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms currently displayed on your screen. Now, also go to our YouTube channel, Nigeria Maritime TV. Of course, view, comment, share. You can also like as well as subscribe to our channel. Subscription is absolutely free. My name is BROWNSON, uNWANA. What a show it has been. Thank you for watching. Until we meet again next week, enjoy the rest of your day.